Imagine a bustling city where 40,000 people lived, worked, and trained. Now, look closely at this field. Today, almost no physical trace of that metropolis remains. This is Fulton County, Illinois. It's a quiet stretch of American farmland that the military abruptly requisitioned during World War II, turning peaceful dirt into a sprawling military installation in a matter of months. Camp Ellis is the ultimate architectural ghost story. It was a fully functioning city that successfully helped the United States win a global war and then quietly scrubbed itself off the map. The catalyst for this rapid expansion was the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. The United States was suddenly thrust into a two-front war, sparking an immediate and frantic nationwide mobilization effort. To meet staggering training needs, the government swallowed up 17,500 acres of Illinois farmland. In under a year, crews laid a dedicated rail spur and constructed 2,200 buildings. At its peak, this pop-up city housed 40,000 personnel. But the military didn't build Camp Ellis to train frontline infantry. This was an Army Service Forces training center. Its purpose was to prepare the sprawling support network required to keep a combat army moving: the quartermasters, the engineers, and the medics. Looking at this photograph of the camp, you can see soldiers navigating endless, uniform rows of freshly built barracks. It operated as a highly organized industrial machine. While combat troops capture the historical headlines, modern wars are actually won by logistics. Camp Ellis was the industrial engine designed to feed, clothe, and heal the American military. One of the men trained to run that engine was Corporal Benjamin Berry. He served in the 863rd Quartermaster Fumigation and Bath Company, a specialized unit that learned its trade right here in Fulton County. When deployed to Europe, their mission was grueling and unglamorous: locating local water sources, decontaminating them, and setting up heated showers to provide clean clothes for exhausted combat soldiers rotating off the front lines. In this image, you can see the gritty reality of field support work. Soldiers rely on rudimentary, improvised setups, like these bamboo walls, to deliver a brief moment of clean relief in the middle of a war zone. For Corporal Berry and his fellow black soldiers, their service carried a harsh paradox. They were preparing to risk their lives for global democracy abroad, yet they trained in segregated units. On an off-base trip to St. Louis, Berry and his friends were refused service at a local restaurant simply because of their race, despite wearing the uniform of their country. Yet support troops like Berry formed the invisible backbone of General George Patton's Third Army. The ultimate Allied victory relied heavily on the labor and sacrifice of citizens the nation still refused to treat as equals. Alongside the American recruits, Camp Ellis held a second, highly classified population: 5,000 German and Austrian prisoners of war, housed in a minimum security compound. Here you can see captured enemy combatants marching straight through the American heartland, identifiable by the large PW stenciled across their backs. For many of these men, captivity was surprisingly domestic. Prisoners identified as non-Nazis were allowed to work outside the compound, often unguarded. They laid brick, stacked sandbags during floods, and tended local farms for a small daily wage. But the U.S. government was also running a covert intellectual experiment here. Authorities identified anti-Nazi intellectuals within the prisoner ranks, including future literary figures like Alfred Andersch and Hans Werner Richter, and recruited them for a secret re-education program. These men were brought together to edit and write for Der Ruf, a highly influential German-language newspaper produced by prisoners, designed to actively promote democratic ideals across POW camps nationwide. Deep in rural Illinois, behind barbed wire, a temporary prison granted captured soldiers the intellectual freedom they needed to eventually birth post-war Germany's democratic literary movement. As soon as the war ended, the massive demand for American support forces evaporated. Almost as quickly as it had appeared, the metropolis of Camp Ellis was rendered obsolete. Throughout the 1950s, the military systematically dismantled the base. The government auctioned the property to farmers, erasing the sprawling wooden city from the landscape. If you know exactly where to look in the surrounding woods today, you can still find the few surviving artifacts: concrete chimneys from old mess halls, remnants of the rifle ranges, and rail beds overtaken by brush. Decades of intensive weapons training deposited a vast amount of unexploded munitions, or UXOs, deep beneath the farmland. Today, the Army Corps of Engineers actively investigates the site, scanning the soil to safely neutralize these buried hazards. A functional city of 40,000 people successfully executed its wartime mission, and then vanished back into the dirt. It leaves you wondering how many other historical epicenters are currently hiding in plain sight, just beneath our feet.